Hey guys, it's your humble host, or Kayla if you prefer. So I'm back again with another video on the Save Dreams hashtag. I actually have quite a bit for you this evening. As I came in contact with Jeff Younger, I was speaking with one of his friends on Twitter, and she's relating to him what I was doing with my coverage, even though my influence is very small on here. He wanted to speak with me, so not only am I going to show you some screenshots that I found in the dossier, as I stated on my stream this past Tuesday by the Hearth, that I was not able to go through the documents because of how angry I was getting and I needed to step away. Well, tonight I had dug through the dossier more, and there's some things that I want to bring to your attention. The dossier is over 300 pages, and there's a lot of stuff in there, and there's two to three things that I really want you guys to see and look at. I posted them on Twitter earlier, and then there's a video that was also sent to me that I will show you as well, and then go over my notes that I took during my conversation with Mr. Jeff Younger. So, without further ado, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the snapshots that I took from the dossier. Let's pull them up. The first one you'll see is an email sent from Ann Gorgelis to Jeff Younger. This is August 5th, 2017. This was when James was 4 years old. Jeff, I wanted to give you a heads up about what is coming your way. Luna, yes, I refer to her that way because that is what she wants to be called in my house, which is total bullshit, has decided to tell you she has a girl brain and boy body and that she is transgender. We have been reading two books since mid July, I Am Jazz and The Princess Boy. In these books, although other people are occasionally mean or confused, the parents are affirming the princess boy's daddy loves him no matter what. I think she has decided that you just don't understand that she is a girl. If she explains it to you, you will understand and be affirming. I wanted to give you a heads up so you can think of what to say in this context. I included Gwen on this email because I think she might be able to help you come up with words that will affirm your position without sounding like you won't love Luna no matter what. And so a couple things, and I'll show you the next screenshot here in a second, but I want to touch upon pretty much the wording of this email as well as some of the things that Jeff told me in regards to James, particularly his history. I'm going to start off with prior to the divorce, Mr. Jeff Younger was a stay-at-home dad and took care of all four kids. This included Anne Gorgelis's two daughters. Anne's mentality is to pick a winner child and a loser child, and the loser child is pretty much ignored, not paid attention to, while the winner child is lavished with many, many things. Um, with Jude, Jude is considered the loser child. So, according to what Jeff Younger has told me, and I'm looking down at my notes, so that's why I'm looking down, Jude has speaking issues. There was an issue at his birth that involved forceps, so it did a little bit of damage. He needs speech therapy and occupational therapy. There might be some autism, but he is high functioning. He has high cognitive function, but he has slow motor skills, meaning he's there mentally. He's very much intelligent, according to what what Jeff tells me. But his motor function, like the way that he talks, the movement of his tongue or whatnot, is very much lacking. He had past balance issues, so I mean he couldn't walk around wobbling, falling over, and things like that. But Jeff finally was able to take him to occupational therapy, paid $2,000 for a week. From what he said, this was a 4 week session, 4 week event, and Jude's balance issues went away. Anne has refused to take Jude to occupational therapy and instead enrolled him in sort of occupational school. Jeff Younger has tried multiple times to get Anne to take Jude to speech therapy, but she constantly keeps pushing back the date. And as we've seen by the court documents, is Anne Gorgelis has full control over what counselors the boys see. And if Jeff wants them to see any counselors, anyone different outside of Miss Orr or someone else designated by Miss Gorgelis' lawyer and herself, then he has to get approval. But from what we've already seen and what has been established thus far, is Anne is not going to approve anybody that goes against her narrative, and Jude isn't her priority like James is. It has also been noted that with Miss Anne Gorgelis is that she's had emotional problems after the pregnancy, and when it comes to James himself, is that this is by Mr. Jeff Younger's account that on his first birthday party, James was put in a dress by Anne, and James pretty much stood in a corner, hid in a corner, crying. Another thing that James noted in regards, or excuse me, that Jeff noted in regards to James is that they were out on a father-son outing. James and Jude, he had taken them to Starbucks, and he met up with a friend there. Gave their boys hot chocolate and things like that. They liked hot chocolate, and James had used the bathroom, and so Jeff offered, like, well, I'll go to the women's one with you. They were pretty much one toilets. You know how most restaurants will have men and women's, and in those bathrooms, it's just one toilet where you lock the door and only one person can use it at a time. So they had one toilet bathrooms, men and women. When Jeff had made this offer to James, he states that James vehemently, violently said, no way. And he also notes that and says that James will literally soil himself to avoid using the women's restroom. So he very much, and we've looked at the photos, we've looked at how James behaves in those photos, genuine happiness, how he just wants to be a boy. So that is something too. So in regards to that email, the fact that Anne is pretty much brainwashing James with what I consider to be propaganda, trying to convince him that he is a girl, is pretty much evident. And also something else that Jeff notes, because this was also in the dossier and I asked him for confirmation, is that if James does not present himself as Luna to Anne will ignore him. So that's something else as well. I'm going to kick back over to the other screenshot here. Miss Gorgelis' heads up email about James. This is pretty much notes about the email. Miss Gorgelis sent this email when James was 4 to give a quote-unquote heads up about James' supposed gender dysphoria. She was unaware that a year earlier, Mr. Younger had taken a video documenting Miss Gorgelis' social construction of a false gender self-identity in James. And, in fact, Mr. Younger witnessed Miss Gorgelis inculcating a false gender self-identity when James was only 2 years old. That's why Mr. Younger stayed at home with his sons to protect them. Some important points about this email. In reference to Jess Jennings, a boy who was put on hormone protocol to suppress puberty, chemical castration, his sexual organs failed to grow normally. When Mr. Jennings opted for a sex change surgery in his teens, there was insufficient penile tissue to properly complete the sex change. This is a boy Miss Gorgelis holds up as a role model to my son, James. Miss Gorgelis uses female pronouns for James. This was the first time Mr. Younger had seen that. And also, let me note something else as well about that, because Jeff also told me this, is that Anne refuses to buy James boy shoes. It is also noted in the dossier that Anne has gone out and bought James a full wardrobe of girls' clothes. So, and I will touch upon what was told to me, and then I'm going to show you a video that was mentioned in the summarization of that email. So, I had asked if the video, which we will see here in the next few minutes, was presented to the court, given for evaluation, anything. There technically has been 2 evaluators. The first one was Blake Mitchell. He failed to investigate the video being shown. His report was struck for failing to meet statutory requirements. And so forth, the court ordered a second custody evaluator, which is by Dr. Albertin. Dr. Albertin, from what I've been told, has not gotten back to the family, has not gotten back to Jeff in regards to the video. And speaking of said video, I want to show you, and I want your thoughts and opinions on the matter, because in my opinion, the video is messed up. And once again, it iterates, it confirms what is in that email. It confirms that Anne is brainwashing this kid. I'm going to flip over and we're going to watch it. And if you need to walk away and cool off, I recommend doing so. Okay. All right. So, all right. Oh, let me hold on. My desktop audio is off. Okay, I do apologize. I just caught that. Okay, here we go.
You're a boy, right?
No, I'm a girl.
Who told you you're a girl?
Mommy.
Okay, do you see that? Mommy told me I was a girl, and like I said with the email, Anne has confessed to showing James stuff in regards to Jazz, propaganda, brainwashing this kid. So, because of what Mommy says, he's now a girl. Now, let's listen further.
When did she tell you you were a girl?
'Cause I love girls.
Okay, so because he quote unquote loves girls, I guess Anne was convinced that he was a girl himself. I'm not sure how that mental leap is made. Little boys tend to flirt with little girls. He likes girls at a very, very young age. That does not make him a transgender child. That does not mean he is a girl himself. Let's continue.
Oh, I see. So mommy told you you were a girl?
Uh-huh.
Does mommy do anything else like with a girl with you?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Like dresses.
What does she do?
She do put them on me.
She puts dresses on you?
So she dresses him in girl clothes. And once again, trying to convince him that he's a girl.
Oh, wow. And what else does she do?
She buys my headbands
Uh-huh.
and she get me hair quits.
So yeah, as we've seen in that picture that was shown on stream of the before and after image of her advertising James on her pediatric website, her page, that James does indeed wear hair clips. It was also noted as well in the dossier that she makes James wear makeup. I will try to find that screenshot for you as well.
Oh, hair clips? Okay. What else?
Some microphones.
What else?
Like a skeleton.
Does she do anything with your fingers?
Yeah.
What?
She paints my nails.
Why does she do that?
'Cause I love like nail polish.
Oh.
So she paints his fingernails, and from what it sounds like to me, saying that he likes his fingernail polish. Something to note about little boys as well is because I've had little nephews. Some of them like to play dress up. Some of them would try to mess with makeup. That does not make them transgender, curious, or children. It just means that they are curious. I've had little nephews pretend that they were pregnant by sticking balloons in their shirts. But that does not make them transgender children. It just means he wanted to play with nail polish. That's it. Little boys do those things. They sometimes play with Barbie dolls, but it does not make them transgender children. They just want to play.
So mommy puts you in a dress and puts nail polish on you? And what does mommy tell you?
She tells me I'm a girl.
Oh, okay.
So by doing all these things, once again, she is putting into James's head that he is a girl. He is not saying this on them. Like I said, anytime you have a child believing that they are the opposite sex, is because they've been freaking coached into doing so. This confirms it. The email confirms it. Let's continue.
Do you think you're a girl?
Uh-huh.
You do?
And note how James is 3 years old. He doesn't understand what he's saying. He does not understand what his mom is doing, and his mom freaking knows that. She's being manipulative and freaking brainwashing him.
Is that why you wear this, so that you can have long hair? Okay.
So there you have it. Anna's been brainwashing James to be a girl, which is, in my opinion, really, really messed up. Let me find that screenshot which talks about how steps. Okay. Oh wait, no, I know where it is. Okay, so there is a police report that has come out that's also in the dossier, which I'm also going to show you because it details that Miss Gorglis at one point refused to go by the custody agreement and relinquish the boys to Jeff for his designated day for 2 hours. I'm going to flip over to the screen once more. I'm going to read this to you. So, this is a police report, a snapshot I took from the dossier. You can find it in the dossier, and I will put the link in the description to that dossier. I'd recommend snatching it. I really would. On March 8th, 2018, at 18:00 hours, Officer, sorry, the text is a little bit hard to read. Double Bauer and Officer Trash were dispatched to Pinkerton Elementary School, 260 Southwestern Boulevard, Coppell, Dallas County, Texas, in reference to a minor disturbance involving child custody. Upon arrival, I spoke with the complainant, who identified himself as Younger Jeffrey. Younger stated that his ex-wife was in violation of their child custody agreement because she would not allow him to access their twin sons. Younger presented me with a signed court decree detailing on page 8 that every Thursday of a normal school week he was to have custody of the boys from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Younger explained that when he arrived at the school to take custody of the boys, his ex-wife would not let him have the boys. Younger identified his ex-wife as Gorglis Ann, and they redacted her birth date. I asked Younger if she gave him a reason why he was not going to get the boys, and he said that he arrived at 6 p.m. in anticipation of attending Meet the Teacher night, but that Gorglis would not relinquish custody to him. Younger said that he has twin 5-year-old sons, James and Jude Younger. Younger said the Gorglis claims that James identifies as a girl, as we saw in the documents, because this has to do with the court documents that we looked over on my stream, to where Jeff is not allowed to present James as a boy at his school, and anytime that he signs him up for extracurricular activities, he has to present him as Luna. He is not allowed to present James. I'm freaking starting to hate that name. Luna. He's not allowed to present James as a boy at his own school. So, let's read, because you're going to find out why Anne decided to withhold the boys. Younger said that Gorglis claims that James identifies as a girl and not as a boy, so she calls him Luna and dresses him in age-appropriate girl's clothes and applies makeup to his face. Makeup! Younger does not approve and said that when he has custody of the twins, they will be dressed and treated as boys, as they should. Younger stated because he was going to make quote-unquote Luna James dressed as a boy, Gorglis refused to let him have the boys and instead took him to the Meet the Teacher night. Younger also voiced his frustration that Gorglis told him that at age 8 she could begin puberty suppression drugs on James. Younger stated that this is basically chemical castration for boys, and it is. And as we've just seen with Princess Boy Jazz, we know exactly why that is. So let's continue. I located Gorglis at the classroom with both boys and asked her why she was not letting Younger have the boys. She confirmed at Younger's story that she will not allow the Younger... excuse me, I'm tripping over my words. This is just... I don't like this case at all. She will not allow Younger to dress James as a boy because it would be very confusing for both James and all his classmates if he suddenly arrived at school in the gender of a male. Gorglis stated that she fully admitted that it was Younger's time to have visitation with boys. So because Jeff was not going along with her delusions of James, she refused to hand the kids over like she was supposed to. Violation. Younger then approached me and said that to save any further trauma to the twins, he was going to just leave the boys with Gorglis and skip his visitation for that day. He did ask for the port number to document Gorglis' refusal to allow him access to the twins. So, as we can see, she violated court order the custody agreement because Jeff refused to go along with her craziness. Ain't that nice? So James doesn't get to be James at school either, and as we noted in the stream, is his classmates and teachers know him as a girl, know him as Luna, but the administrators know him as James, as the boy. Some of the things I want to go up and clear up, because there's a document floating around and it has to do with the courts of Jeff Younger committing fraud. Jeff went into full explanation with that. When Anne and Jeff got married, they agreed to something called a prenup. And a prenup pretty much protects what you bring into the marriage. From what I understand, is usually in a lot of states when you divorce, you get 50-50 split or whatnot. No matter who brings what, it's 50-50 down the middle. Messed up, I know. So what a prenup does is it pretty much protects your stuff. And if there's like any disputes over property, the prenup agreement falls back to the title, say land, car, pets, because you can get documentation for pets, what have you. It falls back to the title, squashes the dispute. So let's first cover the military history because this has to do with prenup. So Jeff was in the Air Force. He was honorably discharged way before he met Anne. And it was also noted to get rid of the prenup, which is the protection against for one's assets that you bring into the marriage. It was annulled. The marriage was annulled, meaning technically it didn't exist. It didn't happen. There's a divorce, there's a separation, and then there's the annulment. Separation is when you go about your own ways, but you don't divorce. Divorce is where you completely put an axe to the marriage. Annulment is when you technically make it non-existent. So by getting rid of the prenup and gain property she couldn't due to if they had divorced, she wouldn't be able to acquire anything, but she was able to because the prenup had technically been dissolved. Anne had accused Jeff of exaggerating his earning before marriage, which in regards to how much he made in the military. Jeff was out to sea a lot of the time. When you're airborne, a lot of the jet fighters or whatnot, they will take off from station ships at sea, and so they come in on and off. So that is a thing. From what Jeff explained to me is you have what the IRS does is it's called foreign income exemption. Taxes foreign income, U.S. taxes, and UK taxes as well. And you can look that up to get a better explanation. So pretty much how he explained it was Anne had claimed that he lied about the amount he made. So saying that he only made about $4,000, they pulled his social security records, which only noted U.S. considered tax income, and I'll explain that here in a minute. That he only made $10,000 to $4,000 when in fact he made over $200,000. Now, from what was explained to me is after a certain amount, which in this case is $200,000, $1 after that amount is then taxed by the U.S. and considered U.S. income. And for those of you who are tax experts, you'll get what I'm saying. For those of you who need more understanding, go look up foreign income exemption to get a better idea of what I'm saying. So, to pretty much water it down as best as I can in layman's terms, he made money overseas, and then after a certain amount of that was reached, because there was a cap on tax exemption, is when the U.S. after the a dollar after the designated amount is when it started to become U.S. income, started to get taxed in the U.S. So the amount that got taxed in the U.S. that was a dollar over and beyond the designated amount of the foreign exemption is what was put onto his Social Security, because the U.S. does not put in your Social Security the financials you make overseas or foreign. If, like I said, go look this up for yourself. So that is the fraud claim, and claims that Jeff exaggerated the amount he made before they got married. So that's where the false thing comes in. Also, something too, as I said, a divorce, like when you divorce, most states do 50-50 split, whatever. There is a truck involved, a Toyota truck, that he pretty much had to pay in for. Because the prenup had been dissolved that had protected his truck, meaning Anne couldn't like get her fingers on it, couldn't make any money on it, whatever. Because the prenup was gone due to the annulment, he had to quote unquote pay back Anne for his own truck. And excuse me, Jeff had presented the title history because he'd had the truck before he met Anne, and he presented the title history in court and pretty much was told, and it was Kim Cooks presiding over the hearing for the truck. Title history was presented, got told that it was considered a dispositive, meaning it did not matter. It did not matter what the title history was, and Anne was given the truck anyway, and it was considered a company expense because it was bought by her clinic. So he lost his truck. Like I said, property was also involved. And so he was accused of converting assets from marriage, pretty much what you guys bring together in the marriage, what a couple brings together in the marriage. Or say if you bought a car together, which was the insinuation here with this truck, he was accused of taking the together bought car and making it his own, which is completely inaccurate. So let me see what else is here. We covered the military. Oh, the him being gay in the military. Let's talk about that as well, because he got booted from the military. He told me in the interview that the cook that he knew was dishonorably discharged for being gay, as in the 1970s, a little bit before. If you were gay, you got the boot. That's just how it was back then, as we talked about in my videos and I believe stream. Pretty much Jeff held a protest and was booted, but they couldn't dishonorably discharge him because they had nothing to make his discharge dishonorable. Let's see what else. Like I said, this was all over the place. Oh yes, there's also in the dossier, because he touched upon this as well, is acquittal for domestic violence. I also asked about this as well, and so pretty much what he states is when he went to go get the boys, Anne had exhibited strange behaviors. Like she'd go out and stand in the middle of the sidewalk, and it turns out that Anne had installed cameras at her house. Her claim was, according to Jeff, that Jeff had clubbed her with a wooden club in the shoulder, and then took the kids. She quote unquote let him take the kids, and called the cops 15 hours later, as well as consulted her attorney. So according to Anne, because Jeff was acquitted of this nonsense, Jeff came up, clubbed her in the shoulder with a wooden club. She allowed him to take the kids and then consulted the police and her attorney 15 hours later. The jury, something to note about the jury is this was a 6-hour case. It took them 15 minutes. They talked for 15 minutes and they were laughing. The judge had to go in and tell them to shut up, but they were pretty much laughing and cleared him after 15 minutes of discussion. Something else to note about that case, of the domestic violence charge, is that Anne knew the prosecution attorney. So every case for that day was canceled, And that specific hearing between Jeff and Ann lasted for 6 hours. Every case gone for that day for a 6 hour case. That was total nonsense. And also, something too, Jeff also notes that he had a witness in the truck. Unknowns to Anne, and he says it could be because the traffic light was in the way. She was not able to see the witness. So the witness also testified against Anne. And like I said, after 15 minutes of discussion, the jury was laughing and said, no, you're not guilty. This is done. So let's see, what else do I have in here, because there's a little bit more. Also, something to note in regards to Jeff's parenting, because they've interviewed both Jeff's close friends and Anne's close friends in regards to like the custody, how Jeff is and Anne is as parents. So to take note, what I was told is that Jeff's witnesses were asked an additional question, and that was, what could Jeff do better as a father? And they gave negative answers or whatnot, just practically observations of what they saw. This question was not asked of Anne's witnesses, and the record of the question ever being asked was not put in court record. So therefore painting a negative picture of Jeff, insinuating that the friends pretty much told the negative information on their own accord, that they were not poked and prodded for it. So, and also something too, let's talk about the terminations, because I asked about that as well, is Jeff being terminated from 2 jobs. So, as was noted, Jeff was a stay-at-home dad, took care of all 4 kids. He drove all 4 kids and 2 daughters, the 2 sons to school. And during this time, he's considered a mathematician. He still is. And so he deals with autonomous systems, robotics, things like that. So, how Jeff got fired or let go or told there was no more work for him to be had, is during the divorce, emails sent by Jeff to recruiters, employers, anybody who was working with, they were subpoenaed. They're pretty much saying, we want these emails. So after that, companies began to drop Jeff. I don't know why I keep saying James. Jeff also notes that the companies that got their email subpoenaed, the interactions between himself and them, they don't want to work with him anymore. So it's very hard for him to find a job. He said that the company, I believe it was the last company he was working for, came to Jeff and bypassed his boss, so his boss wasn't told anything pretty much, and let him go. So pretty much they came to Jeff saying, we have no more work for you. And Jeff's boss is like, what are you talking about? We're over busy. We have plenty of work. What are you doing? And they let him go. So that's why right now it's very hard for Jeff to find work. And for anyone who's not familiar with custody battles, how they work, because we did see this in the DO5 case, is that if a parent's way of not being able to pay for court fees, file petitions, file a countersuit, if they're not able to pay for those, they have no fighting chance. Also, something else he told me what else the funds are for. They are for lawyer fees, court fees, and what's considered expert witnesses. And what an expert witness is top researchers, counselors, that they bring in to evaluate the case. And they're very, very pricey people. So this is what the money is also going to as well. And from what Jeff notes, it's going to come down to Anne's expert witnesses versus Jeff's expert witnesses. So I'm going to put the link in the description for the donation links. And Jeff and I did talk about this as well. For anyone who remembers the DO5 case, I'm using as a reference, not to rehash anything. But you remember how the GoFundMe became frozen. For those of you who don't, when I was campaign manager of that GoFundMe, Mike and Heather Martin and their fans continuously reported it, struck it, and it became frozen. It became frozen for over a week, if I remember correctly, and we had to go through and prove them, like, hey, no, this is legit, this is the real mom, and got it unfrozen on top of making sure that any false reports that were made did not freeze it again. So this has happened with Jeff, and the reason why the GoFundMe link was hidden from the SaveJames.com website prior, it's back up there now, and I'm going to post a link in the description as well as the second one because I've been using two. People have been anonymously reporting the GoFundMe from what Jeff said is they will make these large anonymous donations and then they will turn around and they will report it for scrupulous activity, things like that, and he has to go through and verify the GoFundMe. He's had to do this 3 to 4 times already. So there is an active campaign against not only keeping Jeff quiet, there's an active campaign about keeping him financially stunted to where he cannot fight back. They try to do it with the jobs, and now they're trying to do it by pulling down the freaking fundraising campaigns. So once again, those links are in the description. Forgive me if this video was jumbled around. Like I said, this was an interview, pretty much on the spot interview, as I was not expecting to make contacts with Jeff Younger himself, which I'm very glad I did. If you guys have any further questions, anything that you need answered, put them in my comment section below. Jeff has offered to answer them. Everything that I have related from this interview can be found in the court, the dossier, the court documents. Something I will say again, grab the video, is I'm going to put the link in the description. Grab the dossier. If Anne gets her way, these documents, for the most likely, they shouldn't have any issue staying put. From what Jeff has told me is that according to Texas law, the courts cannot enjoin third parties from publishing information. So if SaveJames.com has to pull them down, I will repost them in either a Dropbox, something, and I will blast the heck out of the link. So that's why I grabbed a copy of what I can right now. I recommend you guys doing the same. Go to the links, please donate. If not, retweet, share, freaking spread this like wildfire. Anne is on an active campaign to shut Jeff down and try to keep more information from coming out, which it's not going to really happen, so good luck with that. But yeah, I want to get more eyes on this case. I know that some of the big YouTubers have already covered some of the things that has happened. They have went through and analyzed James' quote-unquote gender dysphoria, pretty much saying that he does not fit the criteria, to which he doesn't. So anyway, I've rambled enough. Let me look through one last time with my notes, see if I didn't miss anything. Like I said, this was on the spot. So I grabbed a pen and paper and I jotted as much as I could. If anything doesn't make sense that I said, please let me know in the comment section below. Like I said, any questions, and I will pass them on to Jeff, and I will get back to you with them. With that, you guys have a good night. Please continue to get this out. This is still very much a fight, and if he can get those donations, that money, with those expert witnesses, then we really do have a fighting chance. People have been donating, to which they are very grateful for. Once again, his friends Sarah and Mega for What on Twitter have really, really stepped up and been his megaphone and getting the ball rolling. So please, please, if you can, get this to bigger people, please. They need a lot of help. They need all the help they can get, and they really need those witnesses in order to have a fighting chance in court. It's gonna come down to them. And with that, you guys have a good night. Thank you.